Yo, what's up YouTube? It's TRS, or the real Smokey, and as you can tell by the title, today is my AOE video of my Hunter Ranger. So, for the next minute or so, you will be getting a small demonstration of what I do and how I play on AOE. So, I hope you do enjoy, and I will speak to you in the rest of the video. Hope you all enjoyed that small preview of how I play my AOE build. I know it wasn't the most hardest of content because it's only a small segment of FBI, but it was just there as a quick demonstration of how I play. So I'm just gonna start by going over what all the gear is on this build. It is with a augment, so if you would like to see a AOE build with a companion, feel free to let me know down in the comments. So I'm going to start off with the headpiece. The headpiece I use is the Blessed Whispered Hood of the Quiet. You can use other hoods. You can use the 7.5% hood from the Seal Vendor, which is the Enclave's Scout's Hat. I've personally gone away from this because I like the movement speed as well that the Whisper's hood gives you. But this is still a solid option to go with. I just personally prefer the movement speed. The chest piece that everyone should go with is the Bone Devil Ribcage. As you can see, it gives you 25% stats in total, and that being in 12.5% in crit strike, and the other 12.5% being in critical severity. This build, as you'll get to the stats, you'll see why I'm rocking this. Next is the Wrist Guards of Participation. This is just to get the boost of power as quick as possible, essentially on AOE. If you're struggling to hit 20 targets like that, then I don't know what to say. Tank could be a bit better by rounding them up a bit easier for you. And I personally use the Masterwork because I'm a team player. The other options you have are the Mirage weapons, which I know a lot of people love to use. I'm personally one of the people that want the Mirage to be gone from the game because it is 11 mod old content. As long as the Mirage weapons are around, a lot of the new weapons that are going to be coming out or are out are not going to be used because too many people dwell on the past. And the other weapons you could use are Lionheart weapons. But like I said, I personally prefer the Masterwork weapons. The damage percentage isn't as high as what it is on other ones, but it helps you be a little bit tankier, and obviously it helps out the heals a little bit because of 2%. Next up is the boots, which is the Rusted Iron Leggings. It's just pretty much 5% damage for for the cost of 25% incoming healing. There is some boots coming in the future, but we're not sure when, because it's when the new chest piece comes out as well, so it's been floating around the internet for, couple of months, if not more now. So they'll replace the rusted irons, but if you don't want to use rusted irons, you could use the feral steps if you really want to use them for the movement speed if you're ahead of your group. Or even the Wasteland Wanderers, which is 5% combat advantage, which this build could optimise them. But I'm personally for the rusted iron leggings. The neck, waist and artifact set that I'm using is the set that comes from the new, well not new, but Demogorgon. I personally prefer this on AOE to the Mithril set, because it's just easier. You're hitting targets a lot harder, you're not always guaranteed to hit combat advantage, so I'm more opted towards this set. You could still use the Mithril set if you really want to, but that all depends on your playstyle. Like, I tend to get aggro a fair bit on this build, so I'm never in a combat advantage situation. So if you're able to get combat advantage damage in, the new set will be better. The first ring, of course, is going to be with the Band of Air, because no ring in this game beats it. Even with the Hunter's lower proc rate to other classes, the Band of Air still outperforms them all. Next up is the Red Glare ring. This is, again, just another quality ring that gives 12% stats in total, essentially. 4.5 from crit save, 5 power, and 2.5% accuracy. It's just a good stat balancing ring. So when a better ring does come, if a better ring does come out, because the rings from this mod are a little bit lackluster, the poison damage is awful, I would recommend staying with this. If you don't have the Red Glare ring, another ring I would recommend going with, which I don't have on the character at the moment, would be the Shadow Stalker from Omen. I know, like I said, with the weapons, it's old stuff. We don't really want to be using old stuff. As you can see, all this stuff on this character is the journals, which you can see in the middle of my character sheet. The shirt I'm using is the Velvet Tunic, which is just a nice one, especially on AOE. When you're moving for 3 seconds, your damage is increased by 1%, up to 5. So, this shirt will be helping when you move from groups of mobs to mobs. Obviously, you might not have, the 5 seconds between every mob, but if you're moving around while being in combat, you'll still keep building these stacks up. And like I said, I get a bit of aggro, so I do keep moving around. So, if you don't know how to get this shirt, it is through the new Dragonborn Veil campaign. You get it fairly early on. I believe it's the second one you unlock it on. The pants are the Velvet Trousers, because it's just nice offensive stats. You can go accuracy crit strike, like the ones I'm wearing now, or you can go accuracy combat advantage. The choice is personally up to you. Do you want that 1% less crit chance to do a little bit more combat advantage damage? It's completely up to you. Next up is the artifacts. I'm using 3 journals to get the extra damage on a crit hit, which helps with the Band of Air procs. Like I said, Hunters have a low proc rate compared to other classes. Rogues, Warlocks being top at tier for proccing the ring. And obviously it helps with just more damage, increases your attributes, and it helps building with power a bit easier. So next up, I'm going to go to the mount page, which as you can see, I've got 1 Shepherd's Devotion, because hunters can proc the daily all the time, essentially. It only costs 25% of our action points unless you're using Forest Ghost, which is still better than other classes at only 50%. Next up is 2 Assassin Covenant. So yeah, you will be losing 1,500 total defense, deflect, critical avoidance and awareness, but you gain back 1,500 in accuracy, crit save, crit strike and combat advantage. This is just used to balance the stats out. If you only want to use one of the Assassin Covenant, I would recommend slapping on either another Shepherd's Devotion for another 5% movement when you use daily, or a 3rd Gladiator's Dial, which would be a 2.5% gain in movement speed. So next up is what I actually use in combat and the equip power. As you can see, the combat power is the Divine Intervention, which is the wings. If you don't have the wings, what I would recommend is the newest mount power, which is Dragonbone Whirl. It's a 3450 magnitude. It actually does that damage over the total spread, but it's like the Warlock's Blades, the Vanishing Army, I think it's called. So it forms a ring of bones around you for a total of 10 seconds. It does the 3450 overall that. And then next up is Ferocity. This is just extra damage, because it can stack up to 4.8% extra damage for you in radiance damage, but it can also help with the procs on the Band of Air. You'll notice a lot of stuff in this build tends to work for procs of BOA. So that is the mountain. Next up I will go into companions. As you can see, I'm using the icosahedron Ion Sun, which is crit strike, combat advantage, power. If you're a PC player and you're looking at this build, I do feel sorry for you, because I know this hasn't been available on PC for some time. One comp that I would recommend getting if you can't get the icosahedron, and that would be the Owlbear Cub, because that is the only other triple offensive stat augment, I believe. So the equipment I'm using on it is 2 silver talisman of the companions. I'm still working on getting the gear pieces I want from a crown. I'm not going to say its abbreviation. So this is just accuracy, combat advantage. Next up is the Guiding Lights Talisman of the Companion, which is accuracy, crit save. Just a nice balancing stat. And then the comp bonuses, I've got the Flame Sprite in my offense, which is 3.5% accuracy and 3.8 accuracy and 3.8 crit chance. But it's not actually 3.8, it's more 3.75 because of the way the coding is, it tends to round it up. Next up is the bigger they are. This only works on 2-star mobs and above, which on AOE most mobs tend to be 3 or 4, so this is about a 6.2% damage increase, I believe, on them mobs. I could be wrong on them numbers. Next up is the NeverWinter Knights, which is just a straight up 7.5% damage buff. Next up is Orc Wolf's Insight, which is accuracy and crit chance. And then the last one is the Buck Imp, which is accuracy, combat advantage. So next up I will do Boons. I'll let you look at these Boons in your own free time, because these Boons are very generic now. Obviously there's 85 of them, so soon enough we'll be able to have every option on this. But the only one that I would recommend always going with is Bloodlust. But the rest of them for a DPS up top are pretty lackluster. So as you can see, decreases your target's defense by 1% for 10 seconds. So that's not too bad. Does additional attack equivalent to 120 magnitude plus 10 magnitude per rank. So it does 150 magnitude in total. And then also it helps with the action point gain per rank for 10 seconds. So it's 1.5% action point gain, 150 magnitude, and 3% damage reduction. And this stacks amongst the groups. If you've got 7 or 8 people using this, that's a 20% defense decrease. So the guild boom I'm using is accuracy. So if you're using the Owlbear Cub, this would be the easiest one to swap out to balance the stats. Because it's just easy 3k stats to move around. Next up in defense is obviously defense. And then the utility one, you're going to want movement speed for when you're on AOE, because obviously faster to targets, more damage you can do. You can easily get set up, even stun lock the targets till other DPS get there. Essentially, hunters are like the new control wizards to a degree, except we've got better damage output. We're pretty much just there to control the party, and to control the parties if we're not killing them. And obviously, the PvP boom is irrelevant if you're not into PvP, which I am not. Next up is powers. So the at-wills I use is Rapid Shot and Aim Shot. The main one I use is Aim Shot, because it's just 260 magnitude for a second casting time. Hunters get complained about because we have this big hitting at will compared to a lot of other classes, but you do the maths, it works out about the same compared to other classes. And then the other one's obviously range shot, not range shot, rapid shot. This is, you can throw this out really quick to try get procs on the band event. It does proc it slightly better than the aim shot, but obviously the pure damage of aim shot weighs aim shot into focus and that. So the encounters I use are Hindering Shot / Hindering Strike, Constricting Arrows / Steel Breeze, and Conduit of Arrows. These are just the best powers you would use on AOE. Some people do use volley, rapid volley, which I just don't find it to be that appealing. Plus the damage numbers on it are lackluster compared to the other three. And obviously the daily I use is Disruptive Shot as the main daily. If I do run into a little bit of trouble, I use Forest Ghost just so I can tactically retreat from a group. And next up is Seeker's Vengeance and Crushing Roots. I have Seeker's Vengeance on when I am in the combat advantage targets to do that extra 10% damage. And then obviously Crushing Roots helps with your roots. But obviously if you're not going to be using Seeker's Vengeance, I would recommend using Aspect of the Pack to help your teammates out that little bit more with combat advantage. Most people don't tend to have high combat advantage on AOE builds. Next up is the feats, which I use Rate of Change. I use this during every at will because it refreshes the buff. It's just a straight 15% buff. It's nice and big. Next up is Thorned Roots, which obviously we do have plenty of roots in this through hindering and constricting. It just makes the roots do a bit more damage. And then obviously Crushing Roots extend the time on them, so it just more damage essentially. Next up is Predator. Using a range encounter applies prey to the first target hit, so you do more damage against them. So obviously, use a range power, proc prey on the target, kill that one, move on to the next. Bing bang boss, just go from target to target, and you're golden. Next up is Forest Bond. When you apply strong grassland roots or thorn roots, you reduce the cooldowns of your powers by 10%, and 5% for your roots. Obviously, this is just built-in recharge speed to help with your powers, to help get them back quicker. And then next up is Modern Disrupted, which your range powers do 10% more damage after you use your daily. So that is everything other than the pots I used, which are a Wildstorm Elixir, Flash of Potency, and Watermelon Sorbet. And obviously, oh no, I've still got enchants to show you. The enchants I use are the same as my single target one. It is the accuracy one in one offense slot, and then obviously crit 7 in the other 3, and then garnets in defense and utility because it's just pure defense and forte. The overloads I use is the Devil's Precision, which is 5% crit, 5% accuracy. And then the next one is Red Dragon Glyph. This helps obviously with the proc rates on the Band of Air. And then obviously Poison Thorns, just Bile Thorn essentially. Some people use Cursed Burn on AOE. I tried it, I didn't see much of a difference, so you can go for this one or that one. And then obviously movement speed in the bonus one, called movement speed to target a bit quicker, so you're good to go. So I'm just gonna ride my way over to these dummies. I'm gonna show you my stats before I attack, which as you can see is 83.4% power, 82.9% accuracy, 58.8% combat advantage, 71% crit strike, and 78.6% critical severity. So you can move the little bit of critical severity about if you're able to put it in percentage wise into combat advantage, but I couldn't find a way to do it without costing millions. And another thing I do have to show you is the bonus I use, which is crit strike. So that is how my crit strike will get up to 90. So I'm just going to be showing you here in this dummy and show you what my stats get up to. Oh, the power went up. And there you go. All 90 in 4 offense stats when you just keep hitting targets. And you'll see that they were at 90 for a good few seconds without me even having to attack. So, if you have enjoyed this video, feel free to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and until my next video, peace.